Don't go anywhere, because in this video I'm going to be talking about emergency leave or emergency vacation in the United States Army. What's up, friends? Welcome to an all-new video. I'm U.S. Army veteran ThatChrisChaos, and if you're not familiar with my channel, well, I like to try to educate you and try to teach you about things that are dealing with the United States Army. So if that's a topic that you want to learn more about, that you're interested in, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Even think about clicking on that bell to get alerts as soon as new videos go live, to include the live streams and become a part of that awesome notification platoon. So let me explain what is emergency leave, or otherwise maybe you might know it as emergency vacation kind of a thing. So well, let's kind of talk about this. So things happen, right? You have a family member that passes away, someone who's really ill, something like that. And there are situations where soldiers in the United States Army can take what is called emergency leave. If you're not familiar with the term leave, it's just basically like the Army, or even other people use it too, but the term for vacation, right? In the Army, we don't call it vacation, really, we call it leave. So emergency leave is like emergency vacation. Now, in this case, I wouldn't even call it a vacation, but it's emergency time off, I guess, I don't know. But it's called emergency leave in the United States Army. And there are some situations that will allow a Army soldier to be able to take emergency leave. Now, typically this comes in the form of an immediate family member. Some chain of commands may be a little bit more lenient on it. Some are pretty strict on it. It really depends on scenarios. That could be a mother, father, grandmother, grandpa, brother, sister, spouse, sometimes the spouse's immediate family. It may kind of depend on some situations as far as if that applies to like a cousin or an uncle or aunt or something like that. It kind of may depend on like the unit's discretion as far as if they want to grant that or not. But a lot of times it usually comes down to immediate family members for the most part. So in that event, usually you have to contact your leadership. Sometimes they require you to do a Red Cross message. There is a way you can contact the Red Cross to have them relay a message to that soldier. I'm gonna leave actually a link down in the description so that if like any soldiers want to give that out, people that are going into the military, or maybe you're a family member yourself, maybe you have a son or daughter or whatever that's actually in the Army, and you want to know how you would contact them if like a family member was to get deathly ill or killed or something like that. But you would go through those resources to initiate for a Red Cross message. You usually have to know some information on there. You have to know, obviously the soldier's name, where they're stationed at, their unit, and a lot of other information that in that link that I'll leave down below kind of explains that information that they want. But a lot of times unit commanders want a Red Cross message. They want something official, not just the soldier's word. Sometimes that might be good enough, right? But there are some units that are pretty strict as far as they'll take the soldier's word to get the process started, and they'll be like, okay, make sure that someone's initiating a Red Cross message so we have this kind of direct thing. Because also, like a part of that Red Cross message, there's a part in there where they want a contact to verify this, maybe a doctor at the hospital or a funeral home or something like that, to verify this information. Now, emergency leave can be initiated from anywhere. So you could be stationed in the United States, you can be stationed overseas, you can even be on a combat deployment and still essentially possibly take emergency leave. Probably a little bit stricter like on a combat deployment as far as the criteria, but it is still a thing that is possible. Now, in the event of someone having a situation that justifies emergency leave, this is chargeable leave. So that means that, I've explained before that a soldier earns a certain amount of days per year. It's essentially 30 days per year, but they earn that leave balance and it will apply towards that. But it's essentially, a lot of times units have like a designated time frame as far as when leave should be taken. They have what's called block leave areas that they've blocked off for no training to happen during that time frame, so they can try to maximize individuals wanting to take vacation and go see family and everything like that. But emergency leave would allow you to kind of bypass that. So if you do have training going on that time frame and it's emergency leave, you can still go on this leave even if it's got training going on. But it does still get charged from that soldier. They are able to go in the hole, so they are able to go into the negative, if need be for the circumstances of going on emergency leave, but it is still something that gets charged to them. Now, also the travel kind of has some different play into it. If the individual is stationed overseas on a deployment or just simply stationed overseas, then typically that is taken care of for their travel for them. They don't have to buy an expensive plane ticket, from Iraq or from Germany or from wherever they're at. the unit will usually provide that and fly them somewhere to the closest station in the United States, and then they might have to cover the rest of the flight from there. That kind of just depends on some scenarios, but they're not going to at least have to, get a plane ticket from that other country back to the United States. If it is in the United States, well, then the soldier is responsible for the travel to that location. If a soldier can't afford that and they need to go on emergency leave, then there are other systems that will allow a soldier to get like an interest-free loan that they can pay back to be able to pay for that plane ticket, and other kind of resources that soldiers can go through to be able to help them in those situations where they're short on cash, they don't have the money to afford a plane ticket for whatever reason. Then they can go to these services and borrow the money interest-free and then pay it back. So kind of with that being said, I've seen people trying to scam other people on this kind of a thing, saying that, oh, I've got a loved one that passed away and I need help getting back to them. Can you, give me the money? I need to fly from Africa, from India, from Afghanistan or whatever, and I can't afford that plane ticket. Well, don't buy into these scams. They're not real soldiers. They're just people pretending to be soldiers, pretending to be in the military. Other countries, that's taken care of, and if it's not because they're in the United States, there's services to help an individual. So as far as how long this emergency leave can last, well, it can be anywhere up to 30 days and maybe even sometimes beyond that in some circumstances, but that is typically the max, is for 30 days. So usually unit commanders, want it to just be for what they need it for, nothing excessive or anything. If they need a couple weeks or a week or two or whatever to attend a funeral, to be with a loved one before they pass, whatever the case might be that's justifying the emergency leave, then they try to kind of go off of that. But typically 30 days is the max. If it needs to go longer, there are ways that they can kind of request a little bit more time and put in for that to get it extended, but 30 days is typically the key kind of maximum for emergency leave, but the situations can go past that. Typically, if it's going to be something more than 30 days, especially more excessive past 30 days, then there's some other kind of factors that start going in there as far as something else beyond emergency leave. There's this thing called exceptional family member reassignment. So let's say in a situation you're stationed in Fort Carson, Colorado, and you have a family member that lives near Fort Hood, maybe they live in Killeen or one of the other nearby cities near Fort Hood, and they're in a situation where maybe they've been diagnosed with cancer or something and given a certain time frame to live. And maybe that's going to be, maybe a year, maybe it's 2 years, whatever the case is. And you can apply for that kind of a scenario and they will reassign you to, let's say, like Fort Hood. So that way you can be in that immediate area and still be, near that family member. So if things get more complicated, you're right there and not having to just go back and forth. So there's other situations like that too. I've seen other ones too where maybe they don't have a duty station necessarily in that town, but maybe they have a recruiter office, and you can possibly get assigned to that recruiter command and do some work, there and kind of be in that area to still be near your loved one. So if it kind of works into play and is able to be done, sometimes a soldier can request for that if it's something more extreme, like maybe a loved one being diagnosed with cancer and maybe have like a year to live or something like that. That's not something immediate, like they're about to pass or they already passed or something like that. There's different situations they can go outside of just simply emergency leave and simply get reassigned in that manner. There are also some situations where it may not be necessarily emergency leave. They can simply get discharged, maybe a hardship discharge, something like maybe a loved one that passed away, maybe like a spouse or something, or certain other kind of circumstances that may justify for that soldier to get out of the Army early because of this situation that their loved one passed away or is going to pass away and they need to care for them. A lot of other kind of situations that kind of fall under that, but a soldier could essentially, instead of taking emergency leave, possibly get out of the Army early if it was something like where they're a primary caregiver for this individual or something like that. Now that is the rundown essentially of emergency leave, but if you need to seek more information on this kind of topic, you can leave some questions down below. If I know the answer, I'll try to answer it. Maybe other individuals that are in the Army can possibly answer it. If not, this is usually something that you would bring up with your leadership if you were currently in the Army. Probably not necessarily something you need to worry about if you're not in the Army yet and you're waiting to go to basic training, AIT, whatever the case is. This is more for someone who's already in the Army, but it gives you at least a little bit of peace of mind. Maybe you're someone who's about to join the Army and you want to know, well, what happens if I have a situation where a loved one passes away? Am I able to go to their funeral? Am I going to be allowed to see them before they pass if need be? Now at least you have the knowledge to know to ask about emergency leave, to know about it, to go through your leadership and ask the right questions and have the knowledge about this type of situation and know that there is a thing called emergency leave that will allow you to be with your loved ones or attend a funeral, or even other situations where maybe it's an important surgery and you're a primary caregiver for that individual, like it's your wife or your husband or whatever, and it's an important surgery that's critical and you might qualify for emergency leave for that. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to show some love, hit that thumbs up. I got some links down in the description for social media, all sorts of other stuff. I appreciate you hanging out to watch this video. I'm ChristopherChaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya.